The world of football is a mix of passion and aggression, and sometimes that aggression can spill over into dangerous and violent tackles that leave players and fans alike shocked and outraged. In this video, we'll be taking a deep dive into some of the dirtiest fouls in football history, examining the circumstances surrounding them and the lasting impact they had on the sport and the players involved. From bone-crunching tackles to intentional attempts to injure opponents, these fouls are not for the faint of heart. And if you're faint-hearted, you might want to buckle up and prepare to witness some of the most gruesome and unforgettable moments in football history. I'm waiting for you, okay? Let's get right into it. Firstly, let's talk about Harald Schumacher's tackle on Patrick Battiston. The 1982 World Cup semi-final between West Germany and France was a real nail-biter. But it's not the scoreline that people remember. Nope, it's that brutal tackle by Harald Schumacher on poor Patrick Battiston that's etched into our memories forever. For those who don't know, let me set the scene. It was the 57th minute of the match, and France had just launched a counter-attack. Battiston was charging towards the German goal, the ball at his feet, when suddenly, out of nowhere, Schumacher launched himself at Battiston with all the grace and elegance of a taekwondo fighter. It was like watching Wile E. Coyote launch himself at the Roadrunner, only instead of an anvil, Schumacher's weapon of choice is his own body. The impact was brutal, and Battiston was left lying motionless on the ground. His teeth were shattered, 2 knocked out, his ribs broken, and his vertebrae damaged. To make matters worse, it took an entire 7 minutes for the stretcher bearers to get to him. And you know what the Dutch referee, Charles Corver, did? He just signaled a goal kick like nothing happened. Well, I guess we need to check this guy's backstory. He sure must have wronged them in the past. After the match, when the French media told Schumacher that he had knocked Battiston's teeth out, the German casually responded, "If it's only the teeth, tell him I'll pay his dentist." What? Get me my lawyer. I'm charging this guy. But let's not forget the bigger picture here. This tackle was absolutely awful, and it's a miracle that Battiston wasn't more seriously hurt. Although it's reported that the injuries have not completely healed, he still feels some pain. Anyway, both players have reconciled since then and are on good terms now. Next, Zinedine Zidane's headbutt on Marco Materazzi in the 2006 World Cup final. Something quite funny happened in 2006 at the World Cup final between Italy and France. The infamous headbutt, courtesy of no other person but Zinedine Zidane. It was the 110th minute of the game, and tensions were really high. As expected of a World Cup final, Materazzi and Zidane have been going at it all game. Materazzi cancelled Zidane's goal in the first half shortly after scoring. Then, finally, something snapped in Zidane's brain. In a moment of madness, he turns to Materazzi, glares at him, and BAM! Headbutts him right in the chest. Materazzi goes down like a sack of potatoes, and Zidane is promptly shown the red card and sent off the field. Everyone was surprised, wondering what had happened. But what could have possibly led to such a bizarre and sudden violent outburst? Well, rumour has it that Materazzi said something pretty nasty to Zidane about his sister. We don't exactly know what he said, but it sure must have been pretty bad to make Zizou lose control like that. This was his final appearance in professional football, and it was supposed to be a glorious exit, but he ended up leaving the pitch in an uncelebrated way. In the end, Italy won the World Cup after a penalty shootout, and Materazzi probably walked away with a pretty sore chest. But it didn't stop him from scoring in the penalty shootout. The memory of Zidane's headbutt will live forever in soccer history. He sure made his exit memorable after all. Next, Nigel de Jong's karate-style kick on Xabi Alonso. A player decided to go karate mode in the 2010 World Cup final between the Netherlands and Spain. Now let me give you a brief history of the incident for those who might not be familiar with it. Nigel de Jong is a Dutch footballer who played as a midfielder for teams like Manchester City and AC Milan. Although he was a great player, his reputation for making hard tackles and an aggressive style of play occasionally got him into trouble. One of the times he got into trouble was at the final of the 2010 World Cup, a match between the best teams in the world, the Netherlands and Spain. The tension was high, the stakes were even higher, and the players were ready to leave everything on the field. Then, in the 28th minute, Nigel de Jong did the unthinkable. Xabi Alonso had the ball, and de Jong was closing in on him. But instead of going for a normal tackle, de Jong decided to channel his inner Bruce Lee and went for a full-on karate-style kick. Come on, look at that. It was a straight-up martial arts move that could have made Jackie Chan go to him for an autograph. Referee Howard Webb only gave de Jong a yellow card, which made fans and commentators angry. Some people believe that it ought to have been a straight red, while others believe that de Jong shouldn't have been permitted to continue playing after making such a risky move. Ultimately, the Netherlands lost the match 1-0, and Alonso had the last laugh. But you know what they say, if you can't beat 'em, karate kick 'em! Just kidding, please don't do that. Roy Keane's challenge on Inga Harland. The next is probably the most horrific foul in football history, and it happened in a bid to get revenge. Roy Keane's challenge on Inga Harland. Let me give you a quick backstory. Back in 1977, when Inga Harland was playing for Leeds United, during a match against Manchester United, Roy Keane fell after rupturing his cruciate ligament while chasing the ball with Harland. However, Harland, thinking he was faking an injury in search for a penalty, stood over him and lashed at him. Roy Keane got pissed and did not forget this. So when the opportunity presented itself in a match against Harland, now Harland was with Manchester City, Keane decided to dish out his own version of revenge. And boy, it was brutal. It was like two bulls clashing in a china shop, only instead of breaking teacups, he broke bones. Keane flew into the tackle with a kick directed at Harland's knee. You could hear the bones crunching. And you know what Keane did after? He stood over his victim and yelled at him in an image similar to the iconic photo of Muhammad Ali standing over Sonny Liston, taunting after the famous Phantom Punch in 1965. Mission completed. Harland was left writhing in agony and Keane was sent off. He also received a 5-game ban and was demanded to pay a huge fine. However, the damage was already done, and Harland was forced to retire early due to the severity of his injury. Well, that's not all. That's a bit of child's rough play when compared with the foul I'm about to show you. It is considered as one of the most violent fouls in the history of football, and you might even get offended. The infamous incident between Ben Thatcher and Pedro Mendes. It was a Premier League match between Manchester City and Portsmouth in 2006. The game was tied at 0-0 and tensions were high. Here comes Ben Thatcher, the hard tackling defender known for his aggressive style of play. When it comes to the use of elbows, he has a record. In 2000, he had knocked out Sunderland midfielder Nicky Summerby with a violent blow. And as though he wasn't satisfied with that, he wanted to set another one. In the 76th minute of the match, Pedro Mendes, a Portsmouth midfielder, was on the ball and running towards City's goal. Thatcher, who was chasing him down, decided that the best way to stop him was with a good old-fashioned elbow to the head. And boy, he didn't disappoint. Mendes went down immediately and suffered a seizure and had to be carried to the hospital. The referee, Dermot Gallagher, only gave Thatcher a yellow card. What? Unbelievable! Portsmouth's Matt Taylor had to suggest that you have to commit a murder to get a red card from Gallagher. He's got a point, I guess. Thatcher was duly punished, however. He was served a 6-match ban by his club and fined 6 weeks' wages. The Football Association thought that this was not enough for this outrageous offence, so they banned him for 8 more games, with a further 15 games suspended for 2 years. Did I hear you say, served him right? The next foul is so brutal that it ruins Steve Zakuani's career as a professional footballer, and it's quite a pity for such a rising star. Brian Mullen's attack on Steve Zakuani. This was what happened. Back in 2011, the Seattle Sounders were facing off against the Colorado Rapids in a Major League Soccer game. Steve Zakuani, a talented midfielder for the Sounders, was making a run down the left flank when he was viciously tackled by Rapids midfielder Brian Mullen. And when I say viciously, take it from me. Mullen came in with a 2-footed, studs-up challenge that connected with Zakuani's right leg, shattering his tibia and fibula and effectively ending his season. Mullen's challenge was so dangerous that even the most die-hard Colorado Rapids fans were left scratching their heads in utter disbelief. Zakuani's leg could be seen dangling, thanks to his flesh still holding it in place, as he was writhing in severe pain. He had to be rushed to the hospital for an emergency surgery, while the vicious attacker was shown out of the field with a red card, never to set his feet on the pitch for the next 10 games, the longest suspension in league history at the time. He also had to pay a little fine of $5,000. In In my opinion, that was way too small for that offence, considering the fact that Zakuani never remained the same after that experience. Hear what he wrote on his website when announcing his retirement. When my career became more about injections, MRIs, surgeries, doctor's visits, painkillers, and limited physical capabilities than the playing, enjoyment, love, and passion for the game, I knew it was time to call it a day. Sad, but hey, clean off those tears and give this video a like. Also, smash the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss any of our videos. Before you go, leave a comment below on the foul you consider the dirtiest. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.